Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the October 23rd meeting of the Trinity County Fire Safe Council. So I'm going to initially run the meeting, and you'll understand why later. We have several people who logged in under Skylar Fisher. If you get a chance, maybe change your identification. And then we will start welcome and introductions. So my name is Carol Fall, and I'm with Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department, and we'll go to my left.
Hello, this is Skylar Fisher with the Trinity County RCD as the county coordinator for the Fire Safe Council.
Hi, I'm Emily Acer. I'm a project coordinator for the Resource Conservation District under the Fire Safe Council.
Hello, Crystal Hodges, GIS technician, Trinity County Resource Conservation District.
Kelly Sheen, Executive Director for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District.
Jill Cox, Board of Supervisors.
Neil O'Hara, Douglas City Community Service District and Poker Bar Rep.
Okay, so we're going to go to those on Zoom. How about Cindy?
Cindy Childress with the Naromic Wintu Nation and Trinity County VOAD.
Thank you. How about Gina?
Hello, everybody. I'm with the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council. I live on the South Fork, and I'm also ambassador for the Salyer area, which includes South Fork Road and Salyer.
Hi, Gina. Okay, Emily.
Still muted.
Hi, Emily Drain, project coordinator with the Trinity County Resource Conservation District in the Fire Safe Council.
And thanks, Emily. And next, Nate.
Hey, good afternoon, Nate Orch. I'm the prescribed fire and fuel specialist for the Weaverville and Big Bar Ranger districts of the Shasta Trinity National Forest. And then I also have Casey Dunn in here with me, Fuels Battalion, same.
Thank you. Dylan.
Hi all, Dylan Kirkley, Environmental Compliance Program Manager for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District.
And Jerry.
Hi, everybody. Jerry Cousins with the Trinity County Collaborative.
And Adam.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Adam Coons. I'm the fuels planner for Mad River Ranger District, Six Rivers National Forest.
Thank you. And let's see. Adam.
Sunset.
Dave DeLang.
Oh, Dave. Sorry, Dave DeLang.
Hi, everybody. Dave DeLang, Trinity Public Utilities District.
And Casey.
Hi, everyone. Casey, the Burn Program Coordinator for North Coast Air Quality.
And Sophia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sophia Sadie here with the Watershed Research and Training Center Forestry and Fuels Program.
And Shay.
Hi, Shay Callahan, Program Director of Forest Health at the RCD.
And Chris.
I think that's me, Chris Losey, Flora and Altabelli Consulting.
Thanks, Chris. And let's see, Gracie.
Hi, Gracie Holinsky, Fuels Program Manager at at RCD.
Okay, and I think all the Skylar Fishers have gone away. And so we've had two people join us in the room. To my right is
Ben Kellogg, is happy to be here.
And
Pat Frost at Trinity Center Community Services District.
okay. Is there anybody that I missed as far as welcome and introductions? No. Okay. Well, thank you all for attending. And so we will get the meeting on its way. So are there any additions or changes to the agenda? People that have a time crunch and have to leave by a certain date, if you let us know, we'd appreciate that.
I actually have a 1:45 meeting, so hopefully I can get an update in there before then.
Okay, we'll make sure you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, so we have some discussions. So first is the 2025-2026 meeting chair. So again, my name's Carol Fall with Trinity Center Fire, and I am serving as the interim chair for the meetings in October and the combined November-December meeting. And I'm going to turn it over to Skylar to kind of follow up why we need a real chair.
Thank you, Carol. So as we are familiar, our former chair for this year was Philip Simi, who has retired from his position with the County Office of Emergency Services. And so it was decided that we would alternate chairs. So having the OES manager of the county 1 year, and then having a representative, typically a chief of a local VFD as a chair the next year. And so with the interruption of Philip's term, we've been looking for a chair, and Kelly kindly filled in. But as we would like to stay true of the goal of having either an OES manager or VFD chief, and we are still looking for somebody who has the time and capacity to fill in that position, we reached out to Carol, who already has experience chairing the group and is part of the Trinity Center VFD, to fill in. So we just wanted to hold space for that within this meeting to see if there's any input from the group, if anybody disagrees with that course of action, and to also plug, if you know anybody who would be interested in being the chair, please let them know that we have the vacancy and to reach out to me, and we'd love to have a conversation with them about it.
And we have been plugging this at the Trinity County Fire Chiefs Association meeting. And so we're hoping at their meeting in November that they will cough up a name. Or
Throw somebody off the ice.
yeah, they will draft someone. So anyway, as Skylar said, if you know a active fire department person who would like to serve as chair, it's really an easy job. Trust me. And anyway, we were going to be working on that. Any comment from the room or Zoom about that? Any suggestions? I see that Allie has joined us. Allie, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Good afternoon. Glad to be here. I'm Allie Lee with Humboldt Area Foundation and Wild Rivers Community Foundation. Thank you.
Welcome, Allie. Okay, the next discussion item is combining the November and December meeting due to holiday conflicts. Skylar.
Yes, so in the past few years, instead of having the November and December meetings, we've combined them into one meeting, provided that typically our meetings are the fourth Thursday, and that's, I think this year is both Christmas and Thanksgiving. So we figure folks won't want to meet on those days. So I think in 23 and in 24, what we decided was to host our meeting on the first Thursday in December. And so in our newsletter that we sent out this week, we included a poll to the group on what day they would prefer, either the first Thursday of December or the second Thursday. And so far, we've gotten the response that folks are interested in the first Thursday. So that would be December 4th. So wanted to see if there was any opposition from the group if we made our next and final meeting of 2025 December 4th.
Does that work for anybody, or really not work for anybody in terms of in the room or on Zoom? Maybe some hands up.
We got a thumbs up.
Okay. All right, so we will have our combined meeting on December 4th.
Okay, and I'll send out, so our previous Zoom meeting calendar registration was from January to October of this year. So I'll send out a new one at the start of next week so we can all make sure it's on our calendar.
Okay, the next discussion item was to talk about our meeting procedure. There's been a discussion in the past about verbal versus written reports. And so I'm gonna send that over to Skylar for more detailed discussion.
I've been receiving a lot of input, or I've been receiving some input from folks that these meetings can run long, which can impact attendance and engagement, which definitely we don't want that to happen. So some feedback that I've received is the potential of written updates. So rather than how we've been doing things since at least I started, where we run through this project update list and then we call on representatives from the different agencies. Instead, I would reach out to representatives from each of the agencies that are on the project updates list. I would say like at least 2 weeks in advance, ask for a written report to be provided, and then those written reports would be included in the agendas that are sent out. And then when we have these meetings, we would still hold space for the partner updates. If folks have any modifications to their update, additions to their update, they can provide that. If folks have questions based on the update or on things that weren't mentioned in the written report, there would be space for folks to ask that. So that would be the proposal. I did get some questions from folks about this discussion item after the agenda went out, about how it makes it so folks have to put in more preparation ahead of the meeting, whereas like the space for this meeting is for the sake of like having the discussion. We have to like review a lot of documents in our day-to-day. Anywho, so there is that concern in that, or the concern that, you know, somebody may attend the meeting and then may not read the discussion, so they may not be getting the updates. So wanted to provide all of the feedback that I've heard on this discussion item before I turned it over to the group to hear whether or not you thought trying the written discussions would be, or the written updates would be a good idea.
Okay, so folks, what do you think? I mean, do you prefer the current format with the verbal reports? Although I do think we can ask people to speak less. Be more concise, let me say that. Or would you like to have written reports attached to the agenda, or a hybrid of both? People able to, you know, give written reports, or if they've sent in the document ahead of time, they can do that. So, all right, now's your chance. What do you think?
See some hybrids.
Okay, I see Jerry's hand up. Jerry?
Thanks. I like a hybrid, but I do like the idea of written reports beforehand. And we have tried over the years to ask people to speak less, and it doesn't really work. And as long as people are available for any updates since they're written report and to answer questions, I'm hoping that would facilitate shorter meetings.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Pat?
So I like the hybrid idea in writing reports, but I don't want to create a unnecessary workload for people that are already overly busy. Would a possible hybrid idea be, I don't know that everybody's reports have I don't know that things change that much every month.
Right.
From November to December and January to February. Could there be taking our whole list of organizations and breaking them up into smaller blocks so that you're only given a report every quarter or something like that? You know, unless you've got some earth-shattering thing you really need, you know, to have talked about, and then it probably ought to be an agenda item on its own. Anyway, that's just a thought, just not go through A through double C.
I like that idea.
Chris, you have a comment?
Yeah, I'd add to Pat's. I think one way that we could do it is have people submit a sentence about what they want to discuss. And you could, it might just be a sentence that is I wanted to update the group on X, Y, and Z, and you say it, and that's it. Or maybe it's I want to have a. I think you'd have to do it that way. Something where you just write one sentence, and then that could even be put in the agenda, and then the person who does that, the person who submitted that, say, sentence or like almost a tweet, right, could then be given the floor and just kind of read it. But then if there's conversations, they can follow up, because I think it can be hard to just have everything in writing, because people, going from verbal to visual kind of absorption of facts can be a challenge. So if you were to just say, all right, today I'm going to talk about the Blue Fire and this is what's happened, et cetera, on this grant, any comments or questions? But then if you don't, then it would enable the meeting organizer to like skip to the next one, and you wouldn't even have to put it on the agenda, right? It's kind of a hybrid idea. So, yeah.
I mean, I guess a concern about that would be, that's more paper to read ahead of time. I'm not a big fan of, I'm the one that sent the comment to Skylar, since I already got tons of stuff to read and emails and everything, and so I don't want more stuff to read. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, and then Gina has a comment.
Yeah, I think if we just narrow it down to being more concise, I'll even try to talk less, but I don't want to add anything extra. And I know if I'm unavailable, I'd like to be able to send in a report that Skylar could read, but it just seems like a lot of extra rewriting something out and then turn around and then reading it. I mean, I'm lucky I even get to come in and zoom in for these few hours, and I enjoy a few extra words from people just to really hear what's going on around the county. So keeping it simple though and concise.
So
I would
Kelly
chime in to state that, just knowing my schedule as it is, it's highly unlikely that I would read anything in advance of the meeting myself. And if I'm already setting aside a certain amount of time to have, for the meeting itself, to me, asking people to write, their reports out, and then having to then sit down and read that entire, report log at the end is not super efficient for me, personally. So obviously I bow to the whims of the group, but I just feel like there'd be a lot lost in coordination and the ability to actually get that bigger picture, because it is so sort of central to the discussions that we have at this table.
I guess what I was saying was that you could, I think report is the wrong word. I think what I was suggesting was, hi, this is so-and-so from the Watershed Center. We such and such a contract was released. And then that would be in the agenda. And if they wanted to talk more, they could. So really a report isn't the right word. It was just the idea of necessary. I feel like we spend a lot of time going from one person to another and waiting. Is somebody here? Does somebody want to speak? Well, maybe not. This would at least let people know, oh yeah, these 5 people want to say something, and these 12 maybe don't.
Neil.
Well,
Thanks, Chris.
I'm new sitting at the meeting, but maybe something like, if you have something to present, a summary statement in 4 or 5 bullet points, and if you don't, put no major change, and then they wouldn't even put you down on the list for that month. And that would expedite it. I mean, there's a lot of presentations here, but if they're not going to be done every month, let the person who's responsible for it tell you, I have nothing new. And then you can take that person off the list and cut down the amount of people that need to talk.
Cindy.
I was just gonna say, keep each agency to 2 to 3 minutes of a report, and if you have anything longer than that, then submit it in writing to hand out.
Thank you. That's kind of where I was headed, which is if you have a detailed report, go ahead and submit it in writing, but if you just want to do a brief summary verbally during the meeting, do that.
And 2 to 3 minutes should be plenty, and that would speed it up.
Right, if you've got more than just that brief summary, then that should maybe be submitted in writing. And then I think what we want to do is discourage repetitiveness, because a lot of times people are talking about the same project they talk about the month before. So if there's a way, like Pat says, maybe we only do it every other month for your particular agency unless there's something new. And so maybe a couple things, and discourage repetitiveness, just have reports every other month for each agency. And if you have a more detailed report that takes longer than like 3 minutes, then maybe write that down. What do you guys think about trying something like that?
This is Jerry. I kind of like that, but maybe we could get Jill to bring the Board of Supervisors timer over.
I hate that timer.
Of course. That's why it's so effective.
I'm kind of interested in not costing Skylar extra time.
Right.
I don't see any reason why we can't go Cal Fire, no, Caltrans, no, Flora, sure. And just leave it alone and not make her have to do midweek.
Yeah, and I would
Midweek.
say, just for Neil's information, we're pretty, there's a long list, but we cross off a lot of those people.
Mhm.
That
And
we're
we
like,
have
not
to go
here,
back.
not here, not here, not here.
Along those lines, perhaps a couple days before the meeting, everyone sends in, I have nothing, I have nothing, I have nothing. So instead of going down the list of 28 projects, you got 8 people that want to talk, 2 minutes, we're done in 20 minutes, and that's it. And we know ahead of time.
We can try that. I'm not sure. Some people don't know if they're not gonna be here or not.
I feel like that's also costing Skylar extra
Yeah.
time unnecessarily. You gotta track it.
It's pretty quick. I mean, Bill used to cross off people before he wouldn't even ask them.
You can
Because
see
he knew
who's
there
here.
wasn't here. Okay. So,
We do have a comment in the chat from Monique.
okay,
Says, new here, but watched your recording and saw the agenda and know there are a lot of organizations partnering on projects. So having one org share out for certain work collaborated on could maybe cut down time. That's a good idea.
true. Thanks, Monique. So, Monique, do you want to introduce yourself real quick since I didn't add you to the attendees?
Yes. Hey everyone, my name is Monique, Partnership Coordinator for the Shasta Trinity National Forest. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Monique. Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is, maybe Skylar can send out a little brief before the next Fire Safe Council meeting saying we're gonna try to make the partner updates, project updates more concise. So if you're gonna need to talk more than 3 minutes, please send a more detailed report ahead of time. We are going to try reports every other month unless you, from your particular entity, unless you have stuff you want to report. Let Skylar know. And please don't be repetitive if you've talked about it before. What do you guys think? Try that?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Did we want to like divide the list in half, and 1 month it's like we're holding the space for like the first half of the list unless like somebody on the other half like has this emerging thing they want to talk about?
Why don't you try the idea that's already on the table for a meeting or two and see if that solves the problem? And then if you need to change it up again, maybe we can revisit it. We're having a very long conversation about how to not have long conversations.
The irony.
Okay. So maybe so Jill, were you saying, let's go ahead and just keep everybody on the list?
Keep them the way they are.
Okay.
We're keeping our comments to a minimum. We're consolidating amongst partners who share similar projects. And if what needs to be shared is going to take more than 3 minutes, then stick it in writing and we can all see it.
Okay, we'll try that. Okay, great, thank you. That's discussion item C. So now we're gonna move on to discussion item D, which is after the project updates.
So I wanted to hold space in the discussion so it wasn't hidden underneath the project updates and like potentially somebody could miss it. But the internal draft of the county community wildfire protection plan went out to agency partners. And I know some folks in the July meeting said that they wanted the opportunity to like discuss the internal draft like in a group before it went out into the public draft, but also for the sake of everyone's time and understanding, even though I don't understand why not everyone would want to spend an extended amount of time discussing the draft CWPP. So I propose that we move this discussion for anybody who does want to have a collaborative, keep saying the word discussion, but discussion about the document. We can do that after everyone gets the opportunity to provide their updates.
Okay, so we'll move that to when we're done talking about projects.
Just one comment, in case Dave DeLang had comments on this, he said he had to leave by 1:45.
Well, we're gonna move, well, let's see.
How to capture if he might have comments on the CWPP.
I don't have anything prepared right now, Pat. I just started looking over that.
Okay.
So I may be able to circle back and see if you guys are still in the meeting after my 1:45. But
okay,
I can get written comment to Skylar though.
Perfect. Okay, so grants. This is where we normally let people know that there might be grants coming up in case they want to submit applications. Do we know of any grants open? No. I will say, I did receive a note from CAL FIRE that finally they got their funding for the rural fire capacity grants, and so they are starting to distribute those funds. So, because that was unsure for a while, but that money finally came through. Okay.
We received a report out at the Northwest RCD Collaborative meeting yesterday that the CCI, the forest health grants were coming up soon, weren't they?
I think CAL FIRE's forest health proposals are going to open in January. And yeah, unless something changes, they're going to try something a little different this year. And rather than making you submit a full application on the first go, they might do like concept pages instead and then select based off the concept. But I know that they're still like tweaking some things. But I think, yeah, it's January.
And so NCRP, the North Coast Resource Partnership, has technical assistance grants to help you apply for grants. That's what I understand, and those are due November 1st. If anybody's interested.
And then I see Nate has sent a link in the chat for a NIFWIF opportunity. Thank you, Nate. NIFWIF Healthy American Forest Initiative.
Okay. Thanks, Nate. Okay. We'll move on to Fire Safe Council Coordinator update. And then if that goes long, we'll switch back to Dave DeLang.
Okay. We have been planning a series of community meetings for November. So it's going to be some fun evacuation board game nights, one for each region of the county. So far we have dates 11, 12 for Hayfork and the 17th for Trinity Center. Both of those will be at 5:30. And then November 18th for Burnt Ranch. The Hayfork meeting will be at the VFD, Trinity Center at the Oddfellows Hall, and Burnt Ranch at the elementary school. And we're still confirming dates for Weaverville and Southern Trinity, but that will be using our fun evacuation board game that we have. We'll print out maps for each region of the county so folks can play the game around their neighborhood. And we will also have materials about the 2025 CWPP. So it was actually Carol's great idea that we'll get them in the door with a fun board game, but then also share information on the CWPP and how folks can engage in that. And
Douglas City isn't included, or is it included with somebody else?
we could include Douglas City. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make like community-wide maps. Just we're already in the process of making them. But if folks are interested in attending, so Douglas City, if you want to attend Hayfork or Weaverville, just reach out to us and we can like make something for Poker Bar or another neighborhood.
Where was the Burnt Ranch location?
The elementary school. Yeah, Emily's gotten very good at making the maps. So
They don't take me too long, so it's really not a bother to make more of them for any communities.
Other updates?
we've been working on Firewise board meetings and Firewise community renewals. So that's being led by Emily Drain, and we only have 3 more communities that need a little bit more investment, which is Big Bar, Big Flat, Mad River, and Post Mountain. So if you know of any education or fuel reduction work related to wildfire resiliency that happened in those communities we may have missed, please let us know. And just wanted to highlight Weaverville has the most investments right now with Hayfork in second.
Okay,
it for me.
Okay, any questions for Skylar on the Fire Safe Council Coordinator update? Okay, so we will move into project updates, and we're going to start with Trinity PUD.
Okay, Jill, start the clock.
Okay,
go. We've got all of our fire settings on our reclosers throughout the system back to normal operations. Those are going to be improving any outages if there's an incidental contact with the line. So you expect to maybe see a blink, but not power out. Community Wildfire Defense Grant is fully executed at this point, and our first invoice for reimbursement has been submitted. I don't know how that's going to affect it with the government shutdown, but we're waiting to see. CDF con crews are out and about doing some fuels reduction for us. Trinity Alps Resort area. We're still waiting on the CDF wildfire prevention grant. I'm not sure if anybody's heard if they've awarded those yet. I don't think they have. And just continuing on with our routine perennial removal system wide. I'll take any questions, but make them brief.
Nicely done.
Yeah, well, good job, Dave. Okay, any questions for Dave? I see Pat.
What's the status of the wrap?
Wrap project has been delayed once more with the partners. Everybody has a different idea of how they want to proceed. There's been some people that have been removed from WAPA, not removed, but early retirement, new people there maybe want to see something that's already been hashed out. So I'm not really privy on all the details. I just know that a document is coming. That's all I've heard, and it's quite extensive. You'll be the first one to know.
Thanks.
Oh, sure.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Any other questions for Dave? Okay.
Thank you all. See you next month.
Okay. All right, so we'll start down the list. I don't see anybody from BLM. And nobody from CAL FIRE, nobody from Caltrans. Chris, you're up.
Nothing to report this month.
Okay. Nobody from Heim Pump Fire Safe Council, nobody from Lewiston VFD, nobody from Lower Trinity PBA. So Casey, what do we have from the Air Quality Board?
I don't have anything new to report. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So I do understand that from CAL FIRE that you can now do backdoor yard burning with a air quality permit. Right now, you also need a CAL FIRE
I
permit.
still need the CAL FIRE.
At the Fire Chiefs Association meeting, depending on the rainfall, they're thinking that maybe the CAL FIRE permit will go away after November 1st. If we get enough rain. Okay, Cindy, your turn.
So sorry. The Downriver Fire Volunteer Fire Department, the Chenumway, the Norelmic Wintu, all put on a CERT training this last month, community emergency response team. And so we had 13 people certified, and we're getting ready to work with Trinity County OES, Liz and Arena, and good things going on downriver for CERT. That's it.
Cool. Thank you for doing that. Nobody from NRCS? Nobody from SAFE? Nobody from Southern Trinity Fire Safe Council? Nobody from SPI? I think we can take Tehama Glen Fire Safe Council off the list. Trinity Center VFD, our only report is that the con camp is burning all the piles around the airport, which is on property that is owned by the county, private landowners, and the Forest Service. So it's kind of a complicated project. So I want to thank CAL FIRE's Con Camp for getting that all organized to do all that burning. Okay, Board of Supervisors.
I have nothing to report.
Oh, okay. Jerry, do you want to cover the collaborative group?
Well, I'll just make a brief comment that we went on a field trip last Friday and up in the north part of the county, and would like to defer to Carol and Pat, just because it's their country up there. And there were several other people at this meeting who were on that field trip, so there could be some comments. So do you want to do that, Pat or Carol? Take it.
Well, go ahead.
Well, it was very well organized in terms of a project that has been completed essentially, which is the Bowerman Ridge Cooperative Fuel Break. That is 300 feet on either side of Bowerman Ridge Road. I think the group was very complimentary as far as the thinning, the canopy, the mastication, the hand piles that were done in steeper or riparian areas. So that project looked good.
And it generated a $200,000 in stumpage.
Yeah, the logs were sold to Peterson Logging, and I understand they went to SPI. And it did generate funds back for future projects. The next stop was the Hayward Flat Campground, where they are doing a lot of thinning in the campground. I think the consensus of the group was that it looks better than we had expected after initially seeing all the trees marked for removal. That project is not quite done yet, so we're trying to maybe go back if we can and look and see what it looks like once the work is done and the campground is cleaned up, and get a better idea of what campers might think next year. And then the last stop was the work done along Rainier Road in response to the peak fire. The Forest Service is proposing to continue that work under, Nate will correct me, a particular authorization that will allow them to continue that shaded fuel break with mastication and so forth. So I don't know what that authority is, but the district ranger, Tara, was asking for feedback from the group, whether or not that was something to pursue. I think the consensus of the group was that that made sense in terms of fuel management.
And the authority that they were quoting is one that allows them to start the work before the NEPA is complete.
Because that project is part of the larger North Trinity County Communities Risk Reduction Project. So that was kind of the summary on the field trip. Am I missing something, Jerry? Pat?
The only thing I'd like to add is on that last stop at the Peak Fire, they were carving out 2 timber sales, about 225 or 250 acres each. And I'm hearing there's going to be quite a bit of pushback on that. And the other point that they brought out is the Bonanza King fire camera is being pulled from the larger NEPA. It'll be a special use permit. So hopefully that will make that process go faster. But if you remember, that I think there were 20 or 25 special use permits that needed to be reviewed that had already been pulled out of that NEPA. So we'll see.
So Jerry, Ben Sundahl sent out an email this morning with a summary of the North Trinity County project and a map. And in that
Yes.
summary, the camera is still a CE.
Really?
Really? So yeah, we maybe want to follow up on that. Which one's that?
Yeah.
Well,
We'll try. Good luck.
faster than- Yeah, and the NEPA will, the CEA would be.
The special use permit.
The special-
Okay, so any other collaborative kind of reports?
Nope. That's it for me. Thank you.
Wasn't there, Jerry, isn't there like public scoping starting or some sort of scoping starting on the
Big ranch.
On Big Ranch, yes. Yes. And that's a 30,000 acre piece kind of between Big Bar and Burnt Ranch, going up Underwood Mountain and coming back down. And that scoping is open, I think, till mid to maybe November 20th, something like that.
I think it would be a good idea to remind folks that you are in contact with, that even if they hit a reply back that goes, wow, I like it, that's helpful. Because often we think that if we don't have something critical to say, that we just ignore it, but saying something positive helps the project forward. So I forwarded all those things from Rachel to my whole contact list, and those few people that replied back just with those statements, I sent it back to Rachel and said, does that help? And she's like, it does help. So
Okay.
you don't know what I'm saying? The Forest Service often doesn't receive.
No, I mean, I don't know what the most recent thing that was looking for comment on. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can forward you those documents that they sent out. Isn't that what everyone has?
Wasn't it just a notification of the comments for scoping?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it had,
For
there
Big
was
Ranch.
information in it, in both of those. I'll forward you what I have.
For Big Ranch, okay,
Yeah, for the Big Ranch project.
got it. You're right, I didn't comment on that.
Monique says. that
Yes.
She'd be able to drop those documents in the chat.
So she's talking about a grant program?
Yes.
But there was a couple of grants that are stuck in. Nick mentioned one and Monique's mentioned another one.
Yeah, when Carol, you were discussing the NCRP, I think Ally followed up with the NCRP
Okay.
TA info, and then Monique shared an opportunity through the Sierra Nevada Conservancy Wildfire and Forest Resilience Directed Grant Program.
Okay, so thank you guys. So there are links to upcoming grants in the chat if you're interested. And I apologize for more than 3 minutes for the collaborative.
Yeah, it wasn't my fault.
No, it was mine. Okay, that's Trinity County Collaborative, and we don't have Trinity County Natural Resources. We don't have OES.
If I could do a
Yeah.
plug for OES, I understand that they're currently doing interviews for Philip's position, the emergency manager, so there's been movement on that.
Okay, no planning, Trinity County RCD.
Are you wanting me to go ahead and just kind of consolidate this then?
No, we're doing good on time this time, and we're gonna implement our new strategy next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, well, I know that the folks that we usually have that report out on forestry and fuels provided a written report, so I'll go ahead and give that now. We have forestry crew that's working up on the big ranch planning area, doing stand exams. The McConnell Foundation project that we're working with on the Weaverville and North Lake areas has had a few snags with regard to well, they were having issues getting their agreement with the contractor signed, and we've also been requested to increase our liability insurance coverage, and we've been kind of batting that back and forth as to like what the extent of that will look like. So it's kind of imminent, but coming hopefully soon. On the fuels end of things, we have fall chipping this month. This week, cruise in Lewiston, next week, Weaverville and Douglas City the week after that. I'm still accepting signups for those areas, so get them in today. Mastication in the Shasta Springs area has begun, 20 acres as of last Thursday. That is on the State Lands Commission piece, which is 160 acres on the east rim of the Weaver Basin. We have been working with them on this project for quite a long time. Finally got all the approvals to be able to work within that State Lands Commission piece, and have been doing quite a lot of work up there this year. Fuels crews are working in Guy Covington Mill area, which is a 26-acre treatment area. The crew is leaving firewood-sized rounds, mostly pine, in the road, in and on the road, or in and around the road, I should say, and the public is welcome to take them. We'll be accepting formal bids for the Stony Group Camp Fuels Reduction Project until 5 p.m. on October 27th, and there was a walkthrough on that project earlier this week. And since you're on here, Dylan, would you like to give your environmental compliance updates real quick?
Sure. Not to step on Skylar's toes if she was going to mention it, but we'll have the Hobel dump notice of exemption presented to the board this Tuesday, 10/28. Also presenting a NOE for our CEQA lead under a watershed under the watershed center, and that is for Deer Lick Springs, 151-acre area to be treated. And then for our Weaverville Community Forest fuel break, we're ready to begin ID team collaboration, and field work is to continue until access is unavailable to these sites. With Upper Trinity Access Project, we're restarting up initial planning and field assessments, and those will also continue until access isn't available. And I think that is it for me.
Great, thank you, Dylan. Anything else from RCD staff?
Everyone's afraid to talk now.
I think that's it from us.
Okay. Thank you. So let's see, we don't have Sunung Way. We have no Lena's. So Nate and Cody.
Yeah, already mentioned, but Big Ranch scoping is open. It's called public outreach now. It's no longer called scoping. So go in there, and as Jill mentioned, positive comments are appreciated too. So let us know what you're thinking about it. The North Trinity County project, total about 13,000 acres. The 1,200 that is under the emergency action was authorized. So we're moving forward with that. So about 550 acres of proposed timber sale, and the other 750 or 650, if I can do math right, would be pure fuels treatments. So we're looking at how to get those implemented in a very timely fashion. For prescribed fire, we bid off some piles last week, and then we'll be continuing through the weekend and through next week, kind of in the deep suppression repair area. So north of Stony, or Stony, Stewart Fork, that area up on the hill, and then moving into Kinney Camp, which is just a little bit south of there. So for awareness there, we're going to keep our pile burning rolling until they tell us we can't.
Are you done with the Lake Forest pile burns?
The piles up high. So in our prioritization, we're looking at what we need to get taken care of before we lose access to those areas. And then we also balance where LOPs will take effect. And so we're balancing quite a few things in our prioritization schema. So we got about 86 acres completed in Lake Forest, in addition to the 120 or whatever we got out of Lake Forest last year. But these were about 6 units that were way up high on the slope that we got snowed out of pretty early last year. So.
Okay, I'm just curious if you're going to be continuing Lake Forest, just because we keep getting the smoke checks. So what I'm hearing is you are still potentially going to be burning up there.
Later into the season, yeah. So just above the Long Canyon community, we do have a couple more pile units there, but our pile units up high are taken care of for the year.
Okay.
And we do have folks out there patrolling those and actively ensuring that the fire is doing what we want up there.
Okay, thanks.
Those are not unstaffed by any means.
And then there are piles along Highway 3 north of the Mule Creek Station.
Yep, that's in the Ridgeville unit. Those will be prioritized when we have less access to higher units. So those are on the books for this year, planning to get those taken care of after Kinney Camp.
Okay.
So, those will have, or portions of that will have bald eagle LOPs, which take effect on January 1st. So it's kind of a balancing act of taking care of the stuff up high and then getting into those. So.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Any questions for the Forest Service for Shasta Trinity? Okay, how about Six Rivers?
Yeah, mine will be fairly brief. Just like Nate, we've started to move into pile burning. Right now, we've got crews up in the Lassix burning some tractor piles, some repair piles from just all the years of fire out there. So we're making our way while we can, while we still have good access to it. And then we'll be moving down to some lower elevations once the weather starts coming in. We're looking for opportunities to burn our D70 project, which is just south of the Mad River compound and south of Highway 36, right across from the Smoky sign. So we've got 70 acres of type 2 that we're hoping to get burnt in the next month or so, where the weather gets too bad, since we have good conditions for that. And then just other things around the district. We are working in collaboration with Trinity County DOT on the Ruth Xenia Hazard Tree Abatement Project on the school section in between Hettenshaw and Ruth Lake. And that's progressing along. That started at the beginning of October, and I believe they're about halfway done with it. And we're moving a lot of wood down to Ruth Guard Station, and a lot of it's going to end up where we can, or what we can put at the public firewood distribution site. So if folks are looking for firewood, it should be pretty fully stocked here pretty soon. And then last major thing of note is that we're expecting the South Fork Mountain project, hoping to get the NEPA completed and out the door published sometime in January of 26. So coming up here pretty shortly. And then if you want, I'm gonna go ahead and drop our news release just in case folks didn't see it for prescribed fire across the 6 rivers, and there's some more detail, especially with as it regards to Mad River. And that's all I have, unless anybody has anything for me.
Anybody have any questions for Adam? I have a question for both 6 Rivers and Shasta Trinity. So, can people get firewood permits now, online, or since the offices are closed? How would they get firewood permits?
So my understanding of the process is we have one person currently on the Shasta Trinity who's issuing firewood permits. Angie down at the supervisor's office. We should have a phone number posted in our offices to be able to get a hold of her.
Okay, so theoretically, for the work that the RCD is doing down in Guy Covington, that would need a firewood permit.
Technically, yes.
Okay.
If there's material that is on site that is firewood size, yes, it would require a firewood permit. But that segues into a go back I had that the tops piles from the Bowerman FMZ implementation are now open for firewood cutting. Signs are posted out there. So
There's a lot of
And likewise, though, you would want to, technically, you would want to have someone have a firewood permit for those
yep.
piles. Okay.
And I believe on those signs, we just put those signs up yesterday. It should have that phone number on there.
Okay.
I know that we're working towards opening up permits online, but I'm not sure if that's in place yet or not.
Do you want Angie's phone number in the chat?
Yeah, sure. There you go.
And then for Mad River, and I think it's the same for all of the 6 Rivers districts, but I know for Mad River, obviously the office isn't open, but there should be a number posted on the door to the office. And I'm just going back through an email where it says that each district has been issued its own Google phone number, so that folks can still stop by the office, call that number, and then they can still receive a permit. So we do have a plan in place for that and are still selling permits.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Yeah, because I know I've gotten a lot of questions about getting firewood from all the wood that's now sitting out there. Okay. Gina.
Yeah. I'll put my Salyer ambassador hat on first, kind of, sort of, and then along with Forest Service, Lower Trinity here has the same setup with that phone number to call, and she can get a permit out to you and or mail it to you. They are burning here on the South Forks, pile burning in the plantation. So that's getting done. And that's pretty much it. So for the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council, our coordinator, we've got the PG&E grant that was awarded. It's pretty much complete. She's in the report stage right now, and that was for Brandon Mountain. And pretty excited. That was short and sweet. Also, she's currently working with the CWDG projects that we have. We had an award for a contractor to start on our phase 2, and that also includes Brandon Mountain and some stuff over out Patterson. So that's pretty exciting. The Post Knob Fire folks are busy doing their work. You can hear the chainsaws buzzing up and around the outskirts of Willow Creek. And we are also working on our investments. Our FireWise certification includes just the fire district of Willow Creek. So that's what we're responsible for. We're working on that. And looking forward to collaborating with DreamQuest Youth in the future and the Senungwe tribe ongoing with little things. One of our newest things we have going on is pretty exciting. Caltrans offered up like a veg management adopt a highway. And our Vice President Jim Cotton took a drive out and around yesterday to identify some areas. He had turnouts west of Willow Creek identified. We also have some identified locations from the South Fork Bridge towards Willow Creek. And we're looking at Scotch broom removal, invasive weeds. Our turnouts are full of it. Our roadways are just striddled with it everywhere. So we want to try to get a handle on that. It's probably one of our most exciting things I'm looking forward to. We've gotten enough rain already that it's pulling out pretty easy, the small ones. So I think that's it for the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council, unless there's any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Gina? Okay, thanks, Gina. Okay, and last, but definitely not least, the Watershed Center.
Hi, everyone. I will keep it short and sweet. I think a lot of people touched on Watershed Center projects, so thanks to all our partners for all the hard work y'all are doing. We are also doing community chipping in Southern Trinity. Today we're down in Mad River and Ruth, and then next week Kenton Palm and Xenia. So look forward to finishing that up. And besides that, I think you all hit most of what I had, or pretty much all I had to contribute. So no further report.
Yeah, Kelly.
Sophia, or I don't know who else might be involved exactly, but could somebody speak to the prescribed fire that's been going on in the basin this past week?
Unfortunately, I am not the best person for that, and I know Ellen and Quaylen and Aaron and Miller are pretty slammed with doing all the burning. So I'm sorry, I do not have a better report besides what they have been posting to Facebook. So I would imagine that Megan has been posting kind of updates on burn schedules and what's been happening on the fire department and the fire program's end.
Okay, thank you.
Sophia, I was curious if you knew anything about the air curtain burner demonstration that happened in Mad River a few weeks ago.
I do not have an update on that.
Go back. Sorry, this is Quaylen. I'm on the phone with a weak connection here.
Oh, yeah.
Quaylen with the Watershed Center Fire Program. Yeah, thanks, Sophia, for that. Just jumping in about the burns in the basin. We completed 2 days ago 100 acres of some pretty crucial ground in Weaver Basin, tying in some of the prescribed units that the Forest Service is working on up north in 5 cent and 10 cent gulch areas, all the way down to the residents at the top of Reservoir Road and Manzanita Road. So that's some pretty crucial ground. That was the first entry. We had a great turnout from our partners, and we're out there on the hill right now, still patrolling it until these rains come.
Thanks, Quaylen. Okay, any questions for Quaylen?
No, thanks for that work. It looked awful, which meant it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, there was a lot of smoke, but you know, it was some really great consumption we had in there. We weren't expecting all those heavies to be available. We were looking at just burning light flashy fuels, but in the end, we actually got a lot better consumption than we were thinking was going to happen. So it looks great in there.
Safe one.
And I guess for Casey's benefit, I mean, that smoke lifted straight up. I mean, it was a pretty impressive plume. It was not coming back. Okay, so I wanted to ask Neil, since he's new, for partner updates, if you had any questions or updates or comments.
No, I'm just gonna need an acronym dictionary by the next meeting.
Definitely.
Really quickly, Skylar asked for an update about the air curtain burner presentation. And I can give a bit of an update. Nancy Curran with the Watershed Center said that there were about 10 people in attendance, and it was held at the Ruth Guard Station where the air curtain burner is currently housed. And really the purpose of it was to demonstrate operation of the air curtain burner, the appropriate uses, its advantages and disadvantages, and also air quality policies and the Forest Service policies. But she said that they had a great group in attendance and that it went really well.
This is not the new little air curtain burner in the county.
No, that's a.
I can speak to this a bit since this was actually set up by the Air District with CAL FIRE and Forest Service. We had some folks from South Coast, which is down in the LA area, and they are looking at permitting air curtain incinerators. And so CAL FIRE and Forest Service were gracious enough to invite us out to the 2 different air curtain burners and help them and do demonstrations to show how they function when they are operated by really great operators. And yeah, it was really great. It gave the South Coast folks some really good information that they were able to take back down to LA. So that way they can look into allowing ACIs to be operated down there since they don't do prescribed burning, since it's it's pretty much the whole LA area is their air district. And so they're looking into permitting ACIs, and they got a lot of great knowledge and information passed on to them from everyone that was in attendance at the both ACI locations.
Thank you, Casey and Emily.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Thanks, Emily. Okay, any other partner go backs? Okay, well, that will conclude our partner updates part of the agenda.
There is one.
Oh, sorry.
There was one go back I thought about afterwards for the RCD real quick. We have now an executed, as Dave mentioned earlier, their CWDG was executed and they're working on that actively. We finally got ours this week. So the CWDG for the downriver area is $8 million. It is executed and active. Your report.
Okay, so that would be work this spring or this winter or?
I believe we intend to get started down there this next spring.
Is that an annual timeframe? You've got to get everything done within 1 year of receiving the grant, or is
The
it?
CWDG is very, very large. It's like an $8 million grant. I believe it's like, I think it's a 5-year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have 5 years to spend. Good.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's great.
we're excited.
Okay, so then we are going to move on to the discussion item that was brought up earlier, which is kind of internal review of the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Skylar to lead that discussion.
Thank you, Carol. So again, wanted to hold space with the group to hear feedback on the internal draft of the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So for the sake of this discussion, I did set up like a pretty simple slide deck that just has the table of contents so we can go, like, if you've already, I'm assuming for folks who have feedback, you've read some of the CWPP, maybe just like one of the chapters, even that is helpful in hearing the feedback. But I also have each of the chapters available. So if you're like, I want to look at this like one paragraph, like right now, we can like pull that up and discuss that too. So I think we can just hop into it unless there's already something folks want to hit on from the beginning. And again, want to reiterate, as part of this plan update process, we use CAL FIRE's new CWPP toolkit to guide the content. So there's a lot of new information in this document compared to what was included in 2020. And so we tried to use best guidance when making this more comprehensive update. So there's all of these resources that are available on CAL FIRE's website if you are looking for resources that we used, or if you're working on a smaller scale CWPP or county CWPP. So to open up on the review of the document, our introduction section has a lot of language that is borrowed from previous iterations of the 2020 version of the document. So supplying the history, purpose, summary information on the Fire Safe Council, and some info on the planning area. But we did add in additional information regarding goals and objectives. So in previous iterations of the document, we had recommendations and we had overarching goals. But in this version, we created 3 goals that are specific to this plan that guide the document and feed into objectives and actions. But the previous goals were kept under the purpose. So like so we framed it as these are the goals of this document as it continues on what framed its creation, whereas the goals and objectives capture what this planning process's goals were. And then so otherwise some information on the communities, how we engage stakeholders and the public in the planning process. We'll hold a space for feedback that we heard during the internal review, what we'll hear in the public review, and then we go over the process for review, approval, and submission. So have some discussion questions if you're looking to ask something but don't have anything in mind, have some examples of maps from the documents. I will stop talking. Any questions or comments on the introduction?
So your goals are overreaching and your objectives are measurable and actionable.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But we do have individual actions for each objective. Okay. So the next section is the wildland urban interface. So again, this is fairly similar to the 2020 document, but we added in additional context regarding historic and environmental impacts within the WUI. So historic land use and what the catastrophic wildfire risk, how it's heightened within the wildland urban interface. And then there is additional discussion of why are we looking at the WUI in particular when evaluating wildfire risk in Trinity County? The WUI boundary as like a geospatial file, and as you can see on the map, remain the same from the 2020 update. But as was brought up within the partner meeting that we had in July, BLM had a new EA come out that revised their definition of WUI. So we included some language within the BLM section of the WUI methodology to capture that change compared to what was in the description in 2020. Any questions or comments or concerns on WUI?
Was there an analysis done between with that new definition, was there an analysis done to figure out how much variation there is between what they define as WUI and what we've defined as WUI?
The definition within the EA was broad, like it wasn't necessarily like mileage in the same way that the previous definition was. So since it was more narrative, I couldn't figure out a way that I could compare like what they were using, because I think the purpose of it was to allow for more work within the WUI for the sake of fuel reduction. And so I think because of that, they kept it more broad. So I couldn't figure out a way to plug it in and compare it to like our previous boundary or our current boundary.
So they didn't, and they don't have, do they have a geospatial model or each class that basically defines that as, do they have something like that to use in GIS?
I could not find it unless it exists, and I did not find it.
It seems like that'd be something we could ask somebody at the Reading Field office if they happen to have that.
Yeah, I can double check
Just
with
out
our
of curiosity,
partners.
I would wonder, how much variation there is between what they defined and what we've done.
Thank you. Good feedback. Okay.
I like our definition best. Yeah.
Me too.
I agree.
Okay, and another thing I will say is when reviewing the toolkit and CAL FIRE's recommendations, there was discussion on like parsing out within county CWPPs, like a difference between intermix WUI and like different types of WUI. I did add language into this version, essentially saying our communities are like within the classic WUI, and like there is no like the interface, the intermix, like we are intermixed. And because of that, like communities that are outside, like are regarded as so extremely rural that they're not like really within the WUI discussion. So just wanted to touch on that. Okay. So next is our vulnerability assessment. So this slide only has half of the table of contents because it's robust. So within this section, so this is new, completely new content to the document. So we talk about the cascading and secondary impacts of other types of natural hazards or other influences on wildfire risk within the county. So there's background of wildfire in Trinity County with some language from background from previous versions of the document, like talking about biodiversity and how our landscape is adapted to wildfire. And what we're looking for is reducing the risk of catastrophic wildfire, improving our resilience, that kind of thing. The role of evolving climate. And then we dive into the natural hazard impacts, discussion on invasive species, land use impacts on wildfire risk. So historic mining, logging, modern land use and its impacts on wildfire risk.
You don't consider accessibility and terrain as part of your natural hazards?
So like able to fight fires on the terrain?
Just to get in and get out, and just the amount of slope that you have in this county and the amount of places that you can't get into firefight from the ground. It has to be an air attack, or it has to be somebody who's dropped in and they walk in. Seems like, you know, they flattened out Trinity County, it'd probably be Texas when you look at it on a topo map. Yeah. The topography, I think, is the natural hazard for Trinity County that's almost unique. Yeah.
Thank you. I made a note and I'll make sure that that's referenced. And so still in the vulnerability assessment, we talk about at-risk demographics to wildfire. So those who may have additional barriers in evacuation or receiving timely notification in the event of an emergency, infrastructure that was evaluated within this section, critical facilities, transportation impacts from wildfire, and then aged buildings. So as we know, Trinity County has high number of older structures, so like older than 1950s to 70s. Natural resource considerations, so impacts water, sensitive species, forests, and then ending with outdoor recreation and cultural resources.
So where is the lightning and landslides? That's the next slide.
That's in the natural hazards, so the severe weather section.
Because I sent in a comment, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like the lightning, potential impacts due to lightning for the north part of the county are relatively low. And that's based on FEMA modeling. And I'm like, well, but that's where all the lightning storms start, is up in the Alps. So I'm not quite sure what FEMA is modeling. And so I just suggested to Skylar that we add more language about, you know, maybe it's lightning risk due to people is low. I don't know what FEMA's looking at.
Yeah.
Lightning risk due to structures might be low, but
Yeah.
lightning risk
As
in terms of wildfires is not relatively low compared to the rest of the county.
Right.
And likewise, the landslide stuff for the north part for the Alps was lower than the rest of the county. And I'm like, but that's where all the steep slopes are, that's where the avalanches are. what is FEMA modeling that says landscapes are lower, or landslide risk is lower in that part of the county versus the rest of the county?
Soil types of.
Must be limestone versus
Granite, but I mean,
versus.
granite.
so anyway, I just,
Just,
Yeah.
by using, I don't know what FEMA's models look at, so I was suggesting that we add some qualifying language that says, you know, okay, this is what they're looking at, and maybe that's not really representative of the risk in the county. I don't know, however you wanna mealy mouth it.
Do we think including those maps, like, are enough of a misrepresentation that we should remove them?
I was either way, if you either kind of say, here's the reason the maps may not be, you know, the most representative, you can put that in the text. Or I don't know if you really need to have them in the text.
That's okay. Yeah. We have a landslide susceptibility layer. I'd have to check and see what the origin of it is, but I know that we do have maps like that.
The
that
planning
say,
department uses those for the building. Yeah,
And they're for the whole county?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we have a layer I can show you.
Yeah, that would be great.
but even now, I'm not sure like where the landslide was on Highway 3 that took out Highway 3, that's a lower risk than the rest of the county, even though the highway went away. So.
Yeah, that was a few years back, wasn't it? They lost a big chunk of it. Yeah.
Turned our commute into 4 hours versus half hour.
That's brutal.
But that was related to.
A culvert failed, but still the whole side of the mountain
Yeah.
went away because of one
So
culvert that
maybe
got
some
plugged up.
caveats are the infrastructure related.
risk.
Risk of landslides versus natural.
Anyway, the discrepancy between what the maps were telling us versus what FEMA's models were showing us, I was just kind of like, nah, they don't match.
Okay.
Yeah.
FEMA's also looking at it from 100,000 feet. We're living in it. We're looking at it from like 5 or 10,000 feet.
Totally.
They're much more focused on our county than they are.
Yeah.
They're trying to paint the entire country with their maps. So it's a difficult project.
Okay, that was my main comments on this vulnerability assessment section.
Okay, thank you. Any other feedback, questions, concerns on this section? Okay. Moving on to risk reduction strategy. So this also has quite a bit of new content. So in the 2010, 2015, and 2020 CWPPs, we had lists of recommendations. And so this is what I alluded to at the top. So very similar to like goals or actions. And so we went through all of the recommendations and to the best of our ability, tried to respond to whether or not we felt these recommendations had been met, which by and large, a lot of the recommendations were or are still like in progress, like such as smoke impacts from prescribed burns and outreach on that, for example, is ongoing. Projects implementation success, also new. So in this section, we pulled through the last 5 years of Fire Safe Council meeting minutes and recordings, and within a table tried to capture every project area that was worked in by year and partner. And then in addition, we pulled together all the partner project areas that were submitted to us to be used within this document and put it into the mapped projects map, which is very impressive and awesome to look at. And then we also went over existing and future capacity. So in risk reduction, emergency response, and post-fire recovery, treatment types, which was carried over, and then the big thing, priority projects. So from the internal partner meeting, we received some input on the ranking criteria that we used on the priority projects. So a few tweaks from the 2020 plan. So remaining the same are the wildland urban interface proximity for the projects and the public score. New criteria that we now propose to you are the combined wildfire history and wildfire hazard potential data. So That was a piece of feedback that we got in the partner meeting. Previously, we had wildfire history and hazard potential were separate data sets that were looked at and used to rank the priority of projects. Instead, now we have combined them into one layer and have weighted the layer as well, so that if there is a project that has recent history, but then low hazard potential, there was some sort of weighting to try to capture the concern that was also brought up, and that if an area was burned over, a lot of the mapping showed it as having lower wildfire hazard potential, but we know like that there are concerns regarding like brush takeover now and other fuels issues. So we tried to also capture that by weighting the metric for this criteria. We amended the infrastructure proximity to be critical infrastructure proximity because we received a really solid piece of advice that infrastructure such as bathrooms and the like should not be weighted the same as critical infrastructure. So we revised that. And then the other major change we made was in the previous version of the document. It was project continuity was one of the scores, but honestly, in the partner meeting, one of the recurring thing that was said across almost all of the tables was that the project continuity contributed to continued gaps in project coverage. So it encouraged more projects in areas that are already being implemented in. So we essentially flipped it and made it so the underserved communities category took a look at all of the projects that we knew of that were being implemented or planned in the landscape, and then buffered it out. So if a project is completely isolated from any other project, so in a community that has nothing that we know of that is planned and being implemented or was recently implemented, then that project would receive a higher score. And so there was some concern in the internal meeting that if we did that, it would essentially cancel out the public score, but not necessarily true. We do have some projects that are kind of isolated, but still were an emerging project within this planning period, so it had a higher project score, public score.
So I took me a while to figure out how you had weighted the wildfire history and hazard potential, but I like that table. I mean, once I looked through it, I kind of figured out how you were trying to combine them. That kind of, you know, in terms of the total number of points. Yeah, so I thought that reflected the meeting we had in July.
Okay, good.
But like I was saying before the meeting, I had trouble then reading the tables and looking back to the map and figuring out where stuff was because of there's no, like the previous CWPPs, there's no map that shows you where the projects are in detail. It's just, they're just on the map with no numbers. So you can't correlate the table with the map.
So after the partner meeting, one of the things that we also changed was rather than we break out the priority projects by our 5 planning regions. And so something that we heard was if we were going to be removing the project continuity to break out the priority projects into new projects and maintenance projects. So using the information we had available, we attempted to do that. So we can try when we push this out for public review, we can do the maps that show the projects by ranking, but if we break it into maintenance and new projects, I wonder if it'll be like a small enough list of projects that then we can like have a key. So we can play around with that so you can see what projects are where and how it corresponds to rank.
Because I mean, before there were landscape projects and then there were more discrete projects. And so like I was saying, if you look at NL008, it would say Trinity Road, but which Trinity Road, you know? So it was really hard to figure out, like, so if I'm applying for a grant and I want to say it's ranked, this project, Trinity Road, is ranked it gets 1 point in the CWPP, it's like, but which project is that? You can't really tell from the CWPP, right? So that was my dilemma.
That makes sense.
But I mean, it's tons of work. I mean, I can't believe how much work you put into this. Wow.
Any questions or concerns on what's been discussed so far for risk reduction strategy or new ranking criteria? One's keeping things easy for me. Okay, we can keep moving. So as we had just touched on, as with previous updates, we have the priority project lists and mapping. Maps on screen illustrate Carol's concern, which is they are at such a scale and labeled in such a way that if you look at a table or a list of the projects and then look at the map, you can't necessarily tell who is what where. So we can play around with the labeling to make that easier. And we now have it in the maintenance and new projects. In addition to this document, compared to previous iterations, action plans. So we have the agency action plan, which was discussed in the partner meeting, which happened in July. The main takeaway that we got from that was to have more ambitious goals for things such as education and outreach and number of projects implemented within the different regions within the 5-year planning period, and to list out all partners within the action, like in the lead or partner agencies. So we made those revisions for this. And then we also have the residents action plan, which includes a narrative on defensible space and home hardening recommendations for folks, as well as we developed a 2-sided checklist. So general recommendations on an annual basis by season of what folks can do to reduce wildfire risk or improve defensible space on their property. And then conclusion and next steps. So any feedback or questions, comments, concerns on action plan or anything else?
Is there anywhere in the document where it talks about detection, wildfire detection?
No.
You're thinking of, we've spent so much time on cameras.
Yeah.
Who knows what the next technology is? We should probably somehow make sure that's in there somewhere so we can point to it.
In the goals and objectives
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
Okay. And then we can also like talk a bit to like all of the efforts that have been happening regarding the wildfire cameras.
Yeah, we think, you know, we're rebuilding towers that have been burnt down. Sort of thing that's still ongoing. Yeah.
Well, like Ironside.
Ironside.
Oh, you know, maybe this isn't, you just tell me to shut up. What little I know, but when Jack got that culvert going out, and that was an infrastructure piece, and for the culvert going out, the road went out. But isn't there a place to assume or reasonably believe that sometimes those culverts go out because fire burns through, then the storm event happens, that causes the culvert to go out, that causes the road to slide off, but we don't get the benefit of having the fire blamed for the fact that the culvert went out.
Well, we do. So, like after the August complex, you know, there was a lot of essentially culverts that melted, that got destroyed, and then the FEMA money paid to rebuild all those.
Yes, when it's clear that the fire was so hot that it melted the metal, but not necessarily when the fire just burns through and then later the winter storm event happens and then the culvert goes out.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that doesn't always get the right credit.
Oh, you mean because of like increased debris flow from
water.
the, oh, okay, from after the fire?
The amount of water and the speed at which water moves downhill when there's no vegetation.
Yeah,
The
less
culvert is no
obstructed.
longer big enough.
Plus the break can be battering rams against bridges and structures too, and they can do an awful lot of
Yeah, and that
damage.
should be
Yeah.
the focus of
Debris flows.
landslides in this context.
Yeah,
Related to
they-
wildfire.
It's considered to a small degree, Jill, you know, in their suppression repair and stuff, the Bayer teams look at that. But it certainly makes sense to add it to the landslide
Yeah, but that
discussion,
is an issue.
that is not always picked up.
Coffee Creek with the river complex. Impact of fire on that drainage infrastructure.
Yes, and that's not the only place,
No, but this is an
too, that's,
example.
yeah, for sure.
Grass Valley Creek, a really good example. They immediately before the winter came after the wildfire and the RCD and NRCS spent an incredible amount of time and money upgrading culverts.
The grizzly cages and all that kind of stuff.
And basins. That is a big issue.
Good point.
Yeah, thank you. Well, those are the main sections of the document. For the sake of the internal review period, we also sent out our literature review appendix as well as the assets appendix, which Carol and I spoke on some of her comments, but if anybody has any feedback on either of those appendices or the document at large, now is the time. Or, of course, you can email me or give me a call. Want to make it easy to provide feedback.
So when do you think you would be able to incorporate these comments and then send them out to the public review? What's the time schedule?
We're trying to have the public review be initiated in November.
Okay. So if you guys have comments, you need to send them in.
It gives a deadline.
In the email, the deadline was tomorrow. But since it's fresh on the brains, if it can go out like by the end of next week, that would be great. Does that feel like enough additional time? That would be 3 weeks, I think.
Just long enough that you can then turn around and incorporate the comments and send back out.
Yeah, and the other thing is if folks have like additional feedback they want to give but feel like this isn't enough time, there will be a month-long public review period, so you can also provide feedback then.
So what's the approval schedule that you're hoping for?
So with the public review likely running through most of November and running into December, we're hoping to go before not part of the approval necessarily, but we're hoping to go to the Planning Commission next month to engage the group on that, and then hopefully engage like County Board, CAL FIRE, and Chiefs at the start of next year. So the update will bleed a little bit into 2026.
Because our meeting is December 11th.
We're gonna aim for the second November meeting, or the first November meeting.
Planning Commission.
The 13th. So public comment goes out November 1st and then the Planning Commission the 13th, potentially.
That's the hope. Yeah, starting the public comment within like the first week or two of November.
Okay.
Are counties still required to do an all hazard mitigation plan to be part of the HMPG?
Yes.
Does this now take, the work you're doing is fabulous. Does this take the wildfire, does this become the wildfire component of that plan? Or do they still have to do their own wildfire component?
They'll still have to do their own wildfire component. Some of this, so the county updated their plan in the start of 24. I think it was
Okay, so
adopted.
like 4 years, yeah. Before they have to do it again.
Well, to you and your cohorts, excellent job. It's an incredible document. This is a boatload of work.
Is this
Yeah.
the first time the CWPP's gone to the Planning Commission? I don't ever recall going to the Planning Commission before.
I couldn't find background, like at least within our internal documents, not to say that it hasn't, but we figured that since the planning, like the overlap of land use and risk was there? Is there hesitation about bringing it to the planning commission?
Yeah, they're gonna tell them what they're gonna do.
Right.
It'll be an experience, yeah, you know, it's different
Right,
focus,
you
a
know,
lot the
'cause
same down in
it's always
focus.
talk, you know, is this something that goes to the planning commission or does it go straight to the board, you know? I mean, not, but just generally with planning things.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's something that,
I didn't really see any direct tie to land use decisions.
Okay.
Of the general plan.
So
type stuff.
I would say,
Right,
I feel
yeah.
comfortable having it going straight to the
that's what it's
board.
historically done. And historically, it's gone to the board of supervisors for them to accept it, not to approve it.
Mhm.
To avoid CEQA kind of complication.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So then we can plan to not bring it to the planning commission then.
That's what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
It's not a bad
I hate
suggestion.
I hate for them to have real long meetings, especially in the winter.
Yeah,
Well, we already have meetings that are gonna be starting at 2 o'clock to
Yeah.
deal with the zoning
Yeah,
stuff,
it
so.
just seems like those things go before you. And another planning kind of document, the CWPP going before the planning commission. It'll just they'll all get twisted together, you know.
they may slow you up for a month-long review so
Pull
they
them
can
apart.
read it too, so it's, yeah.
But you would be asking your planning staff to sort of present it and make a recommendation. They're not involved in this.
And what's the decision?
It's your document. Yeah, sure. Okay, good call.
I think. Streamline.
Uh-huh.
When you do it once, you're stuck doing it forever.
All right.
Napa County.
Yeah, and his
That one's
language is
sideways.
important too. You accept it, not approve it.
And is there, I recall at one point to help get it approved by CAL FIRE, there was kind of an executive summary document kind of prepared. You recall that, Kelly? Just a, so that they didn't have to wade through the whole document, because I could just really slow down, get CAL FIRE to approve it. Maybe they got the staff. now to
Well,
do
if they're
that.
following the toolkit, hopefully the toolkit will say what actually
sure.
needs to be submitted to CAL FIRE.
And that's huge. Same thing with the HMPG. If you follow the current ever-changing federal guidance on that plan, when it's your turn to write it, they breeze through. If you try to update your old one using the old data, they'll say, no, this is no longer valid. You have to repackage it.
Right.
So I think that's really, if you use their toolkit.
Yeah, that's good.
And in your cover letter, you say, thank you very much for your toolkit. We followed it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You compliment them. You start up with, without your help, we couldn't be this far along. Or flies with honey than vinegar.
Okay, so what I think the plan is, if you have comments, submit them by the end of next week. And then Skylar will immediately turn them around into a public review document and send that out. And then, once she incorporates public comment, it would potentially go to the Board of Supervisors for their acceptance in January.
That is the goal.
Okay,
And it would go through the fire chiefs before then, so they could do a letter saying, recommending the acceptance of the plan
Right.
to the board.
Yeah, I think in the
Yeah.
past, it's gone to the chiefs, then the supervisors and CAL FIRE.
okay.
So that kind of sequence of local, the bigger local to regional.
So maybe the chiefs, the first meeting in January, and then to the Board of Supervisors, their second meeting in January.
Actually, those should fit. You could do them back to back with a.
Do the chiefs on Monday and then the board on Tuesday?
No, it's a week apart, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not the way the calendar falls. It's actually backward.
Oh.
So yeah, you'd be January. Well, it's still a week. January 12th for the fire chiefs, and you could do January 20th for
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds good. Thank you. Great.
For the board of supervisors, you can muster some fire safe council members to be there in the audience.
Be great.
Okay, any other, let's see, agenda items for the next meeting now? Future discussion items.
Maybe they're all asleep.
No, they just left the, they just left their names up there.
They're leaving feedback.
Yeah, what do you mean? They're reading.
Chairman.
Yeah, so we need to have on the agenda again, election of a new chairman. Hopefully we'll have some nominations by then.
Are you out of the running? You don't want to continue doing it?
I like spreading my job around. I
Okay.
have too many hats. Okay. Okay, well then, the October meeting of the Trinity County Fire Safe Council is now adjourned. Thank you all for hanging in there.
Thank you.